Closing arguments wrapped up.
There are only 12 opinions that matter.
Now in the hands of the jury. Preparing for what's to come.
Traveling the state this week is get people ready.
After predictions of a strong hurricane season ahead. Tips at deep cleaning your home.
Cleaning up has a lot of benefits.
Just in time for summer. And learning to save a life.
Once an injury occurs and bleeding begins, the clock starts.
What to take away from Stop the Bleed Day. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak. Hello, South Florida. I'm Jason Aaron.
I'm Valentina Gaspari. Today is Wednesday, May 29th, 2024.
Live from the Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
Jurors doing their duty on the first day of deliberation in Donald Trump's hush money trial. The jury in the former president's case gets their instructions from the judge today.
Now more on what's ahead from Kaplan News reporter Ellie Ruiz.
The defense and prosecution both wrapped up their closing argument presentations in former President Trump's hush money trial on Tuesday.
You can win your case on closing argument. I've seen it done time and time again.
That sets the stage for the jury to soon get the case. Trump's defense attorney, Todd Blanche, addressed the jury for just under 3 hours. He was followed by prosecutor Joshua Steinglass, who used around 4.5 hours of time before the jury.
The prosecution will not only be able to tell its tale, which it must do, of course, succinctly and clearly, but it will also be able to rebut all of the defense points that it's able to.
The judge will give jurors their instructions this morning before deliberations begin.
Ultimately, a trial is all about storytelling for the jury. There are only 12 opinions that matter.
Trump faces 34 first-degree felony counts of falsifying business records. The former president is accused of covering up the reimbursement of hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. The payments were allegedly designed to keep her quiet about her allegation of an affair with Trump. Trump, however, denies any involvement with her. If convicted, the judge could sentence Trump to probation or up to 4 years on each count in state prison, with a maximum of 20 years. For Kaplan News, this is Ellie Ruiz.
Hurricane season is around the corner for Floridians starting this Saturday. That's why Senator Rick Scott is making stops throughout the state to keep people informed. More now from Kaplan News alum Jamilka Gibson from WJHG.
Summer 2024 is expected to be busy in more ways than one. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, between 8 to 13 hurricanes are expected in the Atlantic this year.
We certainly pray that we don't have a storm this year. You know, the forecast is expected to be an active forecast.
United States Senator Rick Scott says he's on a mission to keep as many residents safe as possible. That starts with getting informed. Tuesday morning, he kicked off his Florida Hurricane Preparedness Tour. His first stop was the Driftwood Inn in Mexico Beach, an area devastated by Hurricane Michael in 2018.
My goal, I'll be traveling the state this week, is get people ready. I had 4 major hurricanes when I was governor, and my goal was to keep everybody alive.
Although hurricane season doesn't start until June 1st, local and state leaders say it's not too early to have a plan.
Have an evacuation plan, share it with your family. Understand you're probably going to lose power, understand you might lose communication. So if you're going to do that, what do you need? Radio, batteries, prescription, documents. You need everything, you need 7 days of food, 7 days of water.
Mexico Beach Mayor Richard Wolf was one of several who spoke during the press conference.
I've lived in California with earthquakes. I've lived in Colorado with tornadoes. And I now live in Florida with hurricanes.
He was there when the deadly storm made landfall and knows the importance of a plan.
I can only talk from experience because I was here during Michael. I can tell you that the best thing that worked for me was being prepared, having a couple suitcases on the side that I was able to have all my documents.
Bay County Sheriff Tommy Ford says not only do residents need to have a plan, but they must also heed all warnings.
Before Hurricane Michael, our big challenge was getting people to evacuate, and that's something that's very important. It is not done lightly when the county makes a decision to evacuate a certain area. I've had more people after Hurricane Michael who didn't evacuate who said, Sheriff, next time you ask me to evacuate, I'm gonna do it.
That was Jamilka Gibson from WJHD reporting. Florida officials are also encouraging residents to take advantage of the sales tax-free holiday for hurricane supplies. It will run for 2 weeks and begins this Saturday.
This morning, cleanup crews are picking up the soggy pieces of a house that collapsed from the combination of both erosion and sea level rise. It happened overnight in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and it is the sixth home to fall in the ocean since 2020. A 1-mile stretch of the beach is closed, with more closures being possible. Officials are trying to get funding for beach renourishment and homeowner assistance to move homes back, but so far it's been unsuccessful.
Probably is an economic, downturn to it when, people see a house is collapsed on the beach. It's not necessarily desirable to come, to an oceanfront community while the cleanup's occurring.
The National Park Service has been able to purchase 2 homes to remove them, but the threat to homes along North Carolina's line of islands will only increase in the future after a report projected sea level along the Atlantic coast rising as much as it did in the next 30 years, including the past century.
And moving on now, while summer is still in the air, it is still springtime. And with it, there are plenty benefits going around your home and doing some cleaning. As Caplin's Brian Diaz reports, spring cleaning is good for boosting both health and mental wellness.
It's an annual chore you may not look forward to, but spring cleaning does more than clear a house of clutter. It also helps unburden the brain.
Cleaning up has a lot of benefits. Studies have found that just perceiving our homes as cluttered can actually directly trigger stress reactions. And then that maintaining our space or reorganizing that crowded closet can lead to reduced stress, can lead to better focus, higher self-esteem.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta says brains are stimulated by clutter and distracted by mess, so reducing that can make your living space more relaxing, giving your brain a break. But it's not always easy to find the motivation for spring cleaning. Gupta says to first plan ahead. Create a schedule of when and where you're going to clean. He says that'll help you stay on track. Next, set a timer. See how much you can get done. It may motivate you. Finally, start small to avoid feeling overwhelmed.
For example, just focus on a shelf or a drawer. And finally, donate gently used clothes, toys, and items to organizations in your area. Helping someone in need, that can also be a great motivator.
For Caplin News, Brian Diaz.
Do you know how to stop someone from bleeding in an emergency? As Caplin's Melissa Curricular reports, last Thursday was National Stop the Bleed Day.
It's National Stop the Bleed Day. There are many ways to control bleeding during an emergency, and it could be the difference between life and death.
Once an injury occurs and bleeding begins, the clock starts, and the sooner we can get that bleeding stopped, the more likely it is that a patient is going to survive.
It's the #1 preventable cause of death after traumatic injury. Recognizing life-threatening bleeding and acting quickly and effectively is critical. Knowing what to do before an emergency can mean the difference between life and death, says Dr. Kenya Inaba with the American College of Surgeons Stop the Bleed Committee.
For anybody that does not have a medical background, it can be a stressful situation, but learning these techniques ahead of time really can prepare you.
In an emergency, when there's excessive bleeding, Inaba says to call 911 so it can help be on the way. Next, make sure the scene is safe to intervene. Then he says there are 3 ways to stop the bleeding. Putting direct pressure on the wound, if the wound area is large, packing the wound, or applying a tourniquet to a limb that's bleeding. You can learn these techniques in a free Stop the Bleed interactive course at stopthebleed.org.
It gives you some techniques that you can directly rely upon, that you can rest upon, that you can apply immediately. And I think that truly makes a difference in how you respond to an emergency incident.
For Caplin News, I'm Melissa Curricular.
The Eastern Conference Finals between the Panthers and the Rangers go into overtime for not once or twice, but the 3rd straight game.
That's the hood, and so is the story.
But Profar launches one out toward left center field. Jazz is back, leaps. Did he get it? No.
The Marlins are trying to rise to the occasion against the Padres. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I was depressed in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
The Marlins are waking up from nightmares this morning after facing a pitcher who ended the game with 13 strikeouts in a row. You know, Valentina, being a Marlins fan does have its ups and downs, but unfortunately, they're facing a possible sweep against the San Diego Padres.
That's right, Jason. And after losing their first encounter with Luis Arraez after trading him to the Padres, the Fish don't do much better the second time around, scoring no runs and getting struck out 13 consecutive times to end the game. The final score for this one was Marlins 0, San Diego 4. The Marlins will play their final game of the series against the Padres later today at 4:10 p.m.
Now, as we continue talking about Florida sports, there was a travel day for the Panthers as they finished the home stretch tying the series against the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Just when you thought the Cats started to look like they were losing momentum, which because of losing 2 games back-to-back in overtime, the Cardiac Cats did regain the pulse and with Sam Reinhart and made a game winner in another overtime. The final score was New York 2, Panthers 3. The Panthers will go on to Madison Square Garden to play Game 5 of the series tomorrow at 8 p.m. You're watching Newsbreak, and we're coming right back.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantori here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's what white people think. You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak today. I'm Valentina Gaspari.
I'm Jason Harrell. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.